Howdy and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today we're going to be looking at the very first Monogram all-plastic aircraft kit. This is the 1955 Monogram B-26 Invader. It is kit number P6 star 98, which meant that it had a 98-cent retail suggested price. And it's in 1/67 scale. Which is a little odd, but it's what fit the box. This is the era of box scale. The kit number was later changed to PA6. As the line was expanding with Monogram, they separated their kits into PC was for cars, PA was for aircraft, and so on. So this one here in particular is one of the very first ones, which still has just the plain P. So Monogram had been making wood kits, combination wood and plastic kits. We've seen a couple of those with some of the Speedy Built kits recently on the channel. In 1953, they had introduced the B-25 and B-26 Speedy Builts, and then after that a B-17 and a B-24, which sold pretty well. But Monogram, was a conservative company. It was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with the all-plastic kits that had been coming on the market. And by 54, it was pretty obvious that plastic was the way to go. And so they introduced their first all-plastic kit, which was kit number P1, the Midget Racer. Shortly after that, P2, the Hot Rod, and P3, a racing speedboat. These were all originally done in acetate plastic. Eventually, they got converted to polystyrene, but the first kits were still in acetate. The P1 Midget Racer was shown at the Toy Fair in 1954 and was hailed as a groundbreaking model, the detail that was in it. And that kit stayed in their line for quite a while, and just recently was reissued by Atlantis, so you can still build the very first plastic Monogram kit if you so desire. 1955 comes along. They continued with the cars. P4 and 5 were two versions of Cadillacs. So one was a convertible, one was the Coupe de Ville hardtop, still initially in acetate plastic. And then they branched out into aircraft. First one being this B-26 Invader here. They also issued a B-25 since both the Speedy Built kits had been selling so well. They thought, hey, why not start, our first plastic kits with those same aircraft. So those were P6 and 7. The B-25 actually stayed in their catalog all the way through 1985. So it had a 30-year production run for them. The B-26 faded out somewhere in the 70s. And then also with that first group of aircraft was P8 was a PBY Catalina, P9 was a DC-3, and P10 was a B-66 Destroyer, which we've reviewed on the channel before, so you can look for that. And then finally, P11 was a C-47, which was basically the DC-3 with a different fuselage half that had the cargo doors. They also included a couple of paratroopers to kind of create the little scene for that. So that was the initial issues of those. The aircraft were molded in polystyrene, so they didn't have the warpage problems that the initial vehicles that they produced did. So this kit here, as I mentioned, is one of the first production ones. It actually, I purchased it at a swap meet not too long ago, and it was cellophane wrapped. I did not think that was the original wrapping on it because it had a seam line around the outside. And typically your older kits with the cellophane have got the fold marks where it's wrapped and folded and glued down. But this had a seam line around it, so I thought, somebody added it, at some point later on. And so I removed it to look at the kit before doing the filming, and it turns out this is actually the original wrap on this thing. This was a completely sealed kit from 1955. So you can see the seam line running down the side, but this is that really crunchy plastic cellophane stuff, not that stretchy stuff that's wrapped on kits now. And then it turns out, in doing some research, Monogram experimented with doing plastic wrap on their kits. So one of the other ways to tell on that is that there's no tape on this. And this is like, absolutely immaculate. I mean, there is no scuff marks on the edges of this kit. So I think I opened a completely unopened 1955 kit. So you guys get the benefit from that and seeing exactly what this kit looked like the way it was boxed in 1955. So let's take a look. So on the box, art here, this is really fantastic artwork. You see this A-26, out in this desert scene, which is kind of a little odd. It's got rocket mounts. It's the gun nose version, and it's got the wing guns. Got a couple other aircraft coming into land. And what's neat is that this view of this aircraft is from underneath another B-26. So you've got the landing gear here. When you see it wrapped around, there's the full gear doors and everything. So kind of a neat perspective for a box cover. This kind of looks like the stuff that would come out later on from Revell as well. So here we've got the Monogram logo here and the 4-star plastic kit, which they trademarked. So this is new term for them. Complete with landing gear, pilots, gunners, 3-bladed props, 6 rockets, 12 machine guns, etc. Easy to assemble, all parts molded to exact shape. Really emphasizing all plastic again here. On the side, we've got some of the other kits that I mentioned before. Here's the P7 B-25, the P6 Invader, P8 Catalina, the P4 and 5 Cadillacs. On this side of the first 3, your midget racer, your hot rod, and your speedboat. And here we got the copyright 1955. And on the end, we've got the kit number. Here's the P6 with the star and then the 98 for the 98-cent suggested retail price. And different artwork on the side here. And same thing on this end. This snug fitting box, as it's never been opened. So here's the lithograph that's been wrapped around, glued down on the box. And here is what you got, exactly as it was packed in 1955. So let's pull out the instruction sheet first. We've got plastic kit P6, Chicago, Illinois. Fairly simple instruction sheet with just an exploded view. A little information about the B-26, finishing colors to paint, and little stuff about how to build a plastic model. Here's the scale here. And this side here's got your step-by-step instructions. Use a hot knife to melt the wheel onto the axle. And it does tell you to load up the nose with nuts to weigh it down so it's not a tail dragger. And then some detail painting. Looks like we've got a little catalog included here, which is something that Monogram continued for a few years. Have fun with Monogram models. All plastic kits, combination balsa kits, airplane, boat, ship, vehicle model, 10th anniversary catalog. So here making note of the all plastic kits. These Cadillacs were expensive. $3 for those guys. And then on the inside, here's all the wood kits. So here's the Super Deluxe B-24, B-17, the Mitchell, and the Invader. And we will be getting good reviews of those someday. And here's the rest of the Speedy Built line and the super kits. Fighting ships. These were all wood. And then here's some wood jet racers. And then some of their modeling products. And then here we have our decals, which have gotten warped over the years. They haven't yellowed too terribly bad, so they might actually be usable. So this is actually a specific aircraft. This is 4311, which is actually serial number 44-34311. And that one was built by Douglas in, let me see my notes here. So it was built as an A26B50 DL. It's constructor number 27590. And it was serial numbered 44-34311. And it ended up crashing in July 2nd of 1951. It was assigned to the 8th Bomb Squadron, the 3rd Bomb Group in the 5th Air Force, flying in the Korean War. It was based out of Iwakuni at that time when it crashed. The pilot was a guy by the name of John M. Morello. The damage, or what the damage or the accident report shows, is that it was a takeoff accident due to mechanical failure, and it was coded as level 3, which is substantial damage. So I have a feeling this aircraft was probably written off at that time. At some point, the aircraft did serve with the New Mexico Air National Guard between 47 and 50. And then the pilot, John Morello, was born August 30th, 1917. First joined up with the Army Signal Corps in 1941, and then went to the Air Corps, which then became the Army Air Force. Ended up flying in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Received the DFC Bronze Star Air Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, and had a total of a 36-year career. And he ended up passing away in April 26th of 2005. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a photograph of him, nor of this actual specific aircraft. It's got a name on here of Lil Nell, but I was not able to find any photographs of it. But I was able to find photographs of a number of aircraft from the 8th Bomb Squadron. And interesting, on the accident report, it lists this as a B-26C, which was the glass nose version, the bombardier nose version. Now, the B-26 or A-26 was built with interchangeable noses. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do, but you could swap the noses out on them. So this, as built, was a B model, which was the gun nose, and it was possible to swap the noses out. So this may have had its nose swapped out at some point in its lifetime. And at the time of the accident, it was listed as a C, which would have been a bombardier nose. The 8th Bomb Squadron and 3rd Bomb Group were operating both Bs and Cs. Initially, they were in bare metal, like what this kit is supposed to represent. Later on, they ended up being painted all black since they reverted to a lot of night intruder missions. So we'll show you some of those photographs here. Now let's take a look at the kit itself. So we've got a fuselage here. You notice the landing gear is molded in place. And we've got very large rivets, golf ball size guys, molded on markings. Some engraved stuff representing the rudder. And it looks like we got our DF loop molded on. Our turrets are molded on. Tail bumper. That's this fantastic 50s plastic, this silver, kind of swirly, great stuff. And then we do have kind of a roughened area, I guess, for the front of the cockpit there for the anti-glare panel. And nothing on the interior. That's your fuselage. And let's take a look at our wings here. So top of the wing, same thing. Engraved lines for the flaps and ailerons, and raised lines for the rest of the panels. Raised markings. Little walkways here. Looks like one of the guns is broken off. And here's the slots for the rockets, and that's for the drop tank. And we got a kit number printed on here. Notice, none of these large parts are on trees. Kind of the way a lot of these early kits came. There we go, there's the guns on this one. And then we've got our engine nacelles. Gear doors are molded open. We do have some sort of representation of the cowl flaps. Nothing on the interior of these. Same thing here. And then we have our engines. So we got a little bit of representation of these are R2800s inside here. A little divot there for the air scoop. So a little something to kind of highlight paint there. And then here we have our propellers. These are actually pretty nice. Yeah, these are really good looking props. So we have those. Then we got our horizontal stabilizers as one piece. Notice there's not any flash on any of these parts, which is pretty impressive. So here's our one tree in here, which has the rockets, drop tanks, nose gear doors, main gear struts. I think these are the guns. Looks like you get a lot of little bracing pieces in here between you have to cut out. And there's one of your pilots. There's your rear gunner probably. So you just get a little torso for him. There's one of your other crewmen guys. And here's our nose with the 850s nose. There were two versions, one with 6 guns and one with 8 guns. So this is the 8-gun version. And here's our main gear wheels, which are rubber. If you can believe that. Yep. These will definitely be swapped out later on for plastic. But in this initial version, rubber wheels. And as far as clear parts go, we've got a canopy, which isn't terribly thick. Got framing on the outside that isn't too heavy. Pretty clear, although there's not much to look at inside. And then here is the rear gunner's canopy, framing on the outside again. They're pretty nice. So there you have it. Here is the very first Monogram kit. Not a bad outing for your first plastic kit in the 50s. Of course, Monogram would quickly start making some really nice stuff in the later 50s. And I also have, as a comparison here, a 1973 issue of the kit. And this, the Truth in Advertising stuff from the 70s with the photograph of a completed model. So you get kind of an idea of what it would look like built up. Same decals. Yeah, when you get molded on markings, you can't really change things up too much. But you do have the Mattel logo still showing up on here. Kit number had been changed by now. Some additional photos of the built kit. And Mattel logo again. Copyrights of 58 and 73 on here. And kit number 6818. Now, wait for this. The sucker's molded in the brightest of blue plastic they could find. But it's still basically the exact same kit. Just blue plastic. And let's take a look at the wheels. Now that we've seen rubber wheels in the original, yep, they did replace it with plastic. Pretty much everything else is about the same, but yeah, this was issued in silver or silver gray plastic for most of the issues, so I have no idea why this particular kit here is in this blue. Was not able to find anybody else selling one of these online. Yeah, they were showing interior pictures that showed this sucker in blue, but sure enough, I got one. So here's the decal sheet when it's all open. Same sheet, different markings on the back here, 73 date. That's the exact same set of decals. The instruction sheet, pretty much identical. A little bit of changes, here, but still the same everything. And they're still giving you little catalogs. So in 73, nothing but plastic, so you got a whole mess of 72nd scale stuff here. And we've covered this one here, the Thunder Chief. In fact, we did the pre-painted one. And what else have we hit? The Sky Raider. And I've got the Air Racers and the Mustang, twin Mustang, so we'll be seeing those soon. And then here we've got a Typhoon, a Dauntless, an Avenger, Air Cobra, Lightning will be coming soon. There's your B-26. And what else? Hellcat, Helldiver, Kingfisher we've covered. Just did the Focke-Wulf not too long ago, the T-28. And here, yep, in 73, they're still showing the B-25 and B-26. And the Catalinus. This is, that first group of planes. And the ME-109 we just covered. And we'll be hitting these F3Fs in a little bit. So, still doing the same thing. Guess if it worked for years, why change it? So there's your B-26 in 1973. So as far as other issues go, this style box is only from the first issue. The next time it was issued was in '67. Went to the blue, the main blue body box with different artwork on that. That was issued 2 or 3 times through the 60s to about 71. There was, and then they switched over to this version. There was a New Zealand issue of the blue box in the early 70s. And then this carried over until it was dropped from the line. So not a lot of additional issues on this, and it really wasn't, popped by a lot of the other Monogram subsidiaries, but still a fun little kit. So, also Atlantis. Forgot about Atlantis. Atlantis has reissued this a couple of times. One with their own artwork, and another one with the Blue Box 60s artwork on it. So if you don't find one of these original monograms, you can always get one of the Atlantis repops. So that's about it for this. If you've built one of these, which I have a feeling a lot of you guys may have built this, so tell us about it in the comments section if you have. If you got one sitting on your shelf, as always, take a picture of it, send it in. Email address is in the channel description. And that's all for today. So thanks for watching, and have yourself a good rest of your day.